Lando, driver of the day as well.
No, really? Oh, that's cute. That's because there's so many papaya fans here. Thank you everyone who voted me driver of the day.
This is Paddock 43, the podcast, your weekly rundown giving you all things F1 from both on and off the track.
From races, trades, rumours, the lifestyle, and all the things that come with the F1 world.
We are Amy, Elle, and Pat. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paddock 43's mini-series. So each mini-series will be taking you through a new fun fact or information about F1, particularly for our new listeners out there. So let's kick it off. This week, we are looking into what is Formula One.
Yeah, I guess we were all sitting around and thought we should speak about this because we have had a lot of people say to us, we don't watch F1, but we want to understand more about it.
And we think you should.
Yeah, so look, we understand that there's also a lot of you that do watch F1 and this is going to be kind of redundant for you, and that's fine. But we are basically just going to explain F1 in super layman's terms.
Very easy for everyone to understand.
Yes.
We don't want to overcomplicate anything. So
Here we are.
yeah, so if we wind back the clock before it became Formula One, the name was simply just Grand Prix Racing. So there were actually no regulations on the car. So we saw a lot of different looking cars, which goes back, quite a long way back to, 1906, where the cars kind of looked like, chitty bang bang cars. And that is what they would race in. Then the word formula refers to the set of rules the teams have to build their cars, which is set by the governing body, the FIA. And it's like having a dress code for an event. So these rules means all the cars will remain a similar shape, size, and there are also quite a few restrictions around it. They dictate what engines, the chassis design, and aerodynamics the teams can use, plus quite a few more things, but I don't think I am educated enough to state all of them. But yeah.
So Formula One racing actually began in 1950, and it has quickly become one of the world's most prestigious motor racing competitions. And as we know, it can be quite a wealthy sport with many of the drivers on very, very high salaries, and it has become one of the most popular annual sporting series. There's nearly a race every week, about 21 races in 21 countries across 4 continents, and it brings in a lot of entertainment. But there's also a lot involved with the race. So, Pat, tell us.
Yeah, so the International Racing Championships consist of 2 championships. There's the drivers and the constructors. So the drivers obviously relates to the drivers and the constructors relates to the team as a whole. So typically at a race, you'll see 3 people on a podium, 10 people get points, but one team will win the constructors. So that's typically why you see a 4th person standing on the podium. With this, there's 10 teams, 2 drivers per team. Amy, do you want to maybe go through 2023's drivers?
Oh gosh, we have a lot of drivers to get through. So first up, we'll start with Red Bull Racing, where we have Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez. We have Mercedes with Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, of course, the top 2 teams, best drivers. We have Aston Martin, which we have Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso, followed by Ferrari with Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. We have Alpine with Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. McLaren, my favorite, with Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Then we have the Haas team with Kevin Magnussen and Nico Hülkenberg. Alfa Romeo with Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu. And we have Williams with Logan Sargent and Alex Albon, followed by AlphaTauri with Nick De Vries and Yuki Tsunoda.
So currently in the 2023 calendar, there's a total of 24 races. But China and Imola were both cancelled this year, so we're just seeing 22 races. In terms of a race weekend, so typically we'll see a lot of action from Friday through to Sunday. So we'll usually have 2 practice sessions on a Friday, 1 on the Saturday plus a qualifying round, followed by the race on the Sunday. Qualifying consists of 3 sessions, and it is an extremely important part of the race because the results of a qualifying will basically determine the starting lineup for race day, and the winner of this qualifying session is called pole. So whoever holds pole.
So pole position, its background comes from horse racing and refers to the fastest qualifying horse, which would start the race next to the pole of the inside fence. And the motorsport adapted the phrase in the 1950s, despite like the lack of poles on the grid. But that's where pole position comes from.
We hope that there's no holes.
You'd hope not.
Just a random pole.
They've got enough
Going
obstacles.
on. Yeah.
But basically, yeah, so with qualifying, so there's Q1, which goes for 18 minutes, Q2 goes for 15 minutes, and Q3 goes for 12 minutes. So every lap is recorded, and the worst, or we can say the least ranking, high-performing team or driver is the first 5. They're booted first round.
Knocked on
So the worst 5 knocked out, then the next 5 also knocked out. Another thing to note that is very important is there's 3 sets of tires that can be used, and then there's 2 other sets that are used during.
We could talk about tires for ages, so we
Yeah.
might say that for another day. But they definitely have to switch up those tires, and are very, very dependent on the weather. I think it's also important to note that in the F1 as well, we have something called the sprint race, and that is a 100-kilometer dash to the checkered flag. And it's a chance for the drivers to also get points. So it's 8 points for the winner, descending to 1 for P8. And both drivers and teams score points for their respective championships. So it's just, as I said, another opportunity to get some points. It's a fanfare race.
Purely for the fans.
I think the whole sprint race setup is complex, and I think we can definitely do a whole other episode on this because, I mean, even we sometimes struggle to wrap our heads around the whole.
And the sprint's not every weekend.
No,
The sprint is scattered throughout the year.
it's scattered throughout the year.
I'd be worried if they decided to add in more.
The sprint itself also has its semi-own qualifying session called the sprint shootout. And that means, that takes up some of the practice session as well.
It's kind of like Saturday is just its own day.
Yeah.
It's like not related to Sunday at all. Saturday is just for Saturday.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's an amazing race. You've got drivers, going over 300 kilometers per hour and then, braking very quickly into very small speeds around to very tight corners, different weather.
I think something as well that is really interesting to note, and we will never understand this, is the fact that the difference, and we see this a lot more in qualifying, the difference between someone getting pole and someone getting not even second, third, fourth, it can be 100th of a second.
Yeah, I think
insane.
I think it was Mercedes that actually posted a photo, and they were like, "This is what 0.09 looks like in a picture of the 2 cars," and it was literally like millimeters.
It's all very timed. It's all very high ticky tick things that
And it's funny when you think about like the car upgrades that they get. It's like their upgrade, it could literally just be moving like the floor like a millimeter to the left, and that's an upgrade.
And it's a credit to all the people that are involved directly with those teams. And that can be 300 to 1,200 just involved with that team. Obviously, not everyone's on the grid each week. And you have your team principal who is in charge of the team. Principal, it's like they're in charge of the school. So you'll hear us talking about various principals, say Christian Horner or Toto Wolff, just to name a few.
Gunter
Steiner. Then you'll also have your technical director. They are sort of split between overseeing development at the factory and managing the operations on the track, doing lots of different things. You've got your traveling team. They're the ones that, are getting in dirty. They're setting up these amazing garages every single week at every single race. And it's an incredible operation if you have an opportunity to go see it. And then they also manage all the engineers and the mechanics on the track with that track team. And then obviously you also have your factory team where you've got all your designers, your engineers, your simulation, your manufacturer, your testing and development, and it just goes on.
I think as well, speaking about mechanics, we can't speak about them without pit stops because in every race, cars need to make at least one pit stop.
They deserve so much more credit.
They do.
And these pit stops, they're changing tyres within about 2.7 seconds.
I think like a 2.2, 2.3.
How long do you reckon it'd take you guys to change a tyre on your own car?
20 minutes? Actually, I don't know.
It'd probably take me 20 minutes to find RSAV's number.
No, I have done it before. When once my friend and I got stuck on the side of the road driving down the Hume Highway, and she was like, I have to call my dad. I was like, absolutely not. We're going to jump on YouTube and we're going to figure this out ourselves.
Love that.
Go you. All
Yeah.
right. Maybe we'll see you on the pit lane next year.
Maybe. But again, coming back to times when we think that these pit stops are crucial, like you can add a couple of seconds
For example,
and it makes or
in
breaks a race.
Austria, Max Verstappen decided to have a very timely pit stop to change his tyres because he was determined to get the fastest lap. And he knew if he did that on fresh tyres, he would get that.
That man is insane.
It's an important strategy.
It is. It is an important strategy, especially if it's done right.
Mm.
I like
And if
very-
it's, I was about to say, if it's done wrong, it can go very,
Yes. Like
very
again,
south, very fast.
So
yeah, again, sorry to interrupt, but recently speaking about Austria, we saw saw Ferrari have, I think, 4-second pit stops, and Carlos, he was not happy. It's like, what are you doing?
it makes a huge difference to the race.
It does.
I think it's also important to note the lifestyle that comes with Formula One and the entertainment and fanfare that comes with each single race. And that's what makes it so exciting. There's so much energy going on. There's so much different entertainment. In Austria, we had bungee jumping. We had a guy on a jetpack. We've had, if COVID didn't happen, we would have had Robbie Williams and Miley Cyrus performing at the Melbourne Grand Prix, which was, very devastating to me, being my two favorite artists. So there's a lot of entertainment that comes with a race, and it is like a traveling circus, a very, very wealthy traveling circus that is 9 times out of 10 sponsored by Rolex.
And then also when we look at races like Monaco, for example, and the tradition that comes with it. And for example, you always see the Royal Monegasque family. It's such a big part of it. There's so many elements to it. There's so many different elements.
It's like some races kind of would like stick to their roots, whereas other ones are happy to expand and like add in more of the fanfare stuff.
Yes.
'Cause, you couldn't see someone bungee jumping in Monaco.
No.
I don't think they would add that in there.
I mean, where would they?
Where would they do it?
Where would they do it?
Into the water.
They'd jump off one of the big yachts.
Yeah, crucial.
Well, if you've enjoyed our little mini series and you'd like to hear more, let us know what parts of F1 that you'd like us to explore, what you want to hear, and come on back for some more.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening. And yeah, like Elle said, we'd love to hear more from you. Amy, where can our listeners find us?
You can find us on Instagram, on TikTok under P43, and a website coming soon. So we'll have that in your
Your
ears. You can listen to it if you really want to.
So we will have that too very soon, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Doodles.